Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think I'm welcoming. Am I welcome? Hello everybody. How is everybody today? Hope you all had a good Easter. Everybody okay? So, can everybody hear the battery dead, I think those are fully charged, yes. Ear to the ground. Good to see you today. First live. Get on now if you want to ask a question. Yes, does my audio have a problem? Does my audio shouldn't have a problem. I think Louise's audio had a problem then, didn't it? Louise, do you want to say something, my dear?
Is there an audio problem?
Lots of white noise. That was because Louise's batteries had run out.
It's okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Louise's batteries ran out. It looks okay. Are you okay now, Louise?
I think so, yeah. Yep.
All good?
Yep.
Excellent. Good, good, good. So I hope you all had a great few days off. I must admit, we really did enjoy our 4 days. It was a great 4 days. Let me just make sure I got one or two things sorted out by here a moment in case we do have any things going off and we have our these things going. Ready? Yes. In case that goes off. Okay. So thank you everybody for coming on today. Hope you all had a good Easter. We had a lovely 4 days, didn't we, Louise? We really looked forward, didn't we, to our 4 days.
It's just been busy, isn't it? It's just been nice to, even though we're just doing click and collect as everything else, and the thought of reopening next week is just, we've got so much to do. And I did say, didn't I, at the start of this lockdown, we're not going to do what we did last time. We're going to have loads of time. We're going to get, and still, we're in the last week. So by next week, by the time we do our live next week, we'll be open again.
Monday, we should be open and we should be, having customers through the door, which will be the first time since the 20th of December.
Well, we hope we'll have some customers through the door.
Well, fingers crossed we will. So I hope you all had a good few days. Our Easter eggs turned up today, which was a bit late, so I'm not quite sure.
Too late, I'm on a diet now.
I'm going to have a word with Amazon on that, I think. That really was not right, was it, to end up having it today?
You should have given one to Matthew.
He's still down there.
Is he?
Yeah.
Give him an egg then.
No. So we're still having the shop decorated, the shop's being painted. He was doing the gloss today and he's stripping some of the wallpaper off a couple of the walls we've got. So that's all being done. So fingers crossed tomorrow it'll all be wallpapered, and then we got the horrible task then of putting everything back together, tidying up. Oh, going to the tip again still. Again with the computer desk that nobody wanted.
You think you're doing a good thing, don't you?
You think you're doing a good thing, asking anybody, do you want an old computer? Not an old, it was a good computer desk. It was a metal computer desk, nice pull out. Nobody wanted it, so it's going to have to go back up to the tip.
It's a shame.
It's a shame. So yeah, we got lots of things to do. Polishing room is looking pretty good. I was finishing that off today. I got to put a little bit of silicone going around. We're going to put the ultrasonic, the steam cleaner, the plating unit, and the polishing motor in there, and it's all going to be fan-dabby-dozy. And I am looking forward to opening up because I find that people come to the click and collect and they say, can you put a battery? Can you measure my finger? And I go, no, we can't do it.
You did bark earlier. Is it possible to get my finger measured?
No!
Okay.
No, we're not allowed to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can go online and buy a ring gauge and we'll post it to you. So I'll be looking forward to Monday when we don't have to refuse people. There we go. All right.
Rebecca said, is it possible for me to send you some freshly bottled honey wine via the mail from Germany? Is that possible?
Oh, wow.
Is that allowed to go through British Post? Would you like? I would certainly like, yes. I don't know.
Honey wine. I've never heard.
Rebecca, you're the beekeeper, aren't you?
Oh,
fabulous.
Very good.
I don't know.
Yes, look into it, and if you can send it successfully, please, we welcome that, absolutely. So, okay, what are we going to do now, Louise? Is there anything?
I think it's general
Swarovski stopped crystal production. Now, it's interesting you should say that, Susan, because nomination, the brand that we do, we have to now go back to our website and remove all Swarovski's logos, names, because of something. And if they've stopped making crystals, well, then that's the reason why. So
I wonder why.
It means, again, we've got to go through the website. We not only
I don't
we had
think
to
I put them on the website in the first place, actually. They know. I think they were on there, actually, yeah.
So not only have we had to reprice all the nomination online, Louise has been doing that today as well on all the trays.
That was fun.
And now we've got to go back and remove all the Swarovski reference. It's a pain, isn't it?
I don't think there's many. It's more CZs, isn't it, than Swarovski, I think. So it'd be all right.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get other brands. Anything else we need to say before we start? I can see all the lovely lot of questions coming in. Thank you all very much for everything that's coming in. We'll be starting right back at the beginning in a moment. So thank you everybody for coming on today. Really do appreciate it. Somebody asked, and we need to check this because I forgot to mention it to you. I meant to remind you, Louise, about this. And this came in at the beginning of our 4 days off. And we've drunk a few bottles of wine since then. We've had a few gin, we've had a few whiskies, we've had a few beers, haven't we? And I've forgotten a few things, but somebody, I think, can't remember who it was. Was it Romy? I can't remember. Someone said, when is our anniversary of the first Q&A we did?
It was May the 30th.
Was it that late?
Say. Yes.
Was it?
And I remember for a specific reason.
First Q&A,
yeah.
not 12 hour.
I think it was.
First Q&A.
Oh, the first Q&A.
The first Q&A.
Oh my gosh. We'd have to just look back, wouldn't we? I don't know.
We're going to have a look because then we can have a bit of a party, can't we?
Oh my god, party, yeah. Can
We
we?
can have a bit of a party.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah, as in just you and me, Lou. Just you and me, party streamers and hats.
Well, we can't invite anyone because we're still on
But everyone can dress up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, streamers.
It's a pity we can't do something via Zoom.
Everybody could come on Zoom, couldn't we? We could have a Zoom call and get everybody on.
What's the maximum for a Zoom call?
Don't know, but that would be cool, wouldn't
Does
it?
anybody know what the maximum is for a Zoom call? 8th of April. Trevor, you've got a good memory.
Was it the 8th of April?
8th of April.
Gosh, so it's 2 days' time. So in theory, we're gonna have to have a party next week because to organise the party today. So perhaps next Monday we will have a bit of a party, and perhaps we can try it on Zoom. We'll have to see. Well, we'll look into it, shall we, this week? As if we haven't got enough to do.
That's all right.
Yeah, should we try? 300, says Thomas.
Oh, good.
Oh, there we go then. We could have everybody on, couldn't we?
We're Skinflints though, so we don't pay for our visions.
Rebecca said, I can offer a better solution than Zoom. What's that, Rebecca? Do tell us. What is the better solution? Free of charge. It gets better.
Yeah, even better.
Gets even better. Better, Rebecca. Yeah. Come on, Rebecca. We're waiting with bated breath here now. Come on. Quick, come on. This fine. What is it?
Don't stress her out.
What is it? What's better than Zoom and free?
Interested to know.
It's a long answer, obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we? Thank you, Rebecca.
Oh, well done,
yes,
Rebecca.
please. Thank you.
Am I looking forward to all the? Yes.
Absolutely. We are looking forward to all the glitters, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. And don't forget, get your social media posts ready to blast it out when the program's on, because you can always, people are going to be watching it and they can always refer back to you, melting stuff down, soldering stuff, making earrings, bracelets, necklaces. Get all your social media together so as soon as it comes on the television you can blast it and you can hold the line. A mead party. Right then, should we start?
Okay.
Right,
Just got excited at the thought of a party.
It is what's the date today? 6th, isn't it?
Yep.
It is the 6th of April. Looking forward to opening up next Monday. First time for a long while. So please, Louise. It is the 6th of April. It is our 52nd. We did have one day off. It must be our 51st, perhaps, Q&A.
Yeah.
Have to double check on that. So it's time for our first question, Louise. May we have a first question, please?
Okay. Tanya is saying, hi, I've just finished my silver pendant leaf, but I've noticed there is a shadow. How do I get rid of it, please? Thank you.
Do you mean a shallow or a shadow? If it's a shallow, is it a dip in it, or do you mean like a shadow, like a bit of a darkness over it? I won't answer it just yet. We'll come back to that, but just let me know. Is it a shallow or a shadow? Okay, but we'll come back to that. So next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Sandra is asking, after so many years likely trying every organisational system under the sun, how do you organise your flex, shaft, bits and burrs? Burrs,
all right then. Well, the usual things, when you buy like a Fordham SR, you get one of these revolving stands, don't you, like this? And they are quite nice, aren't they? They're pretty good, but you know, if yours is anything like mine, as you can see here, there's like these texture wheels, and there's this and there's that and there's burrs, and to be honest, it's just a load of, it's a mishmash of all different things, what I'm using particularly on the bench, and it's not really a decent organizational arrangement. What I do like, because they all fall out, what I do like and what I have quite a few of, and I actually got one down here, are these little boxes. These boxes are from Rio. There's the code for the box. It's, what is the code? It's a 346008. I love these boxes because they are nice. They are nice little hardwood boxes. I'll just show you again. And we can open it up and go, sorry, that's just me making the sound effects. That was.
Really? I thought it was the
Did you like, hang on, what's happened to number 3? Where's my camera at number 3? Is it off? Why is my camera number 3 on? What's happened, Louise? Hang on, guys. Hang on. Oh. This was on a minute ago. Why has this gone off? Thank you. There we go. All right, that's better. All right, so this is number 3. Camera number 3, please. No memory card. There we go. So I love these boxes. These are a really good box. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, 12. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can fit 72 burrs in this little box. And I do love these boxes because you can have, 12 burrs, obviously, by 6, which I think they're really, really good. Comes in a nice little box, and you can stack them up by the side of you. So you could have all your ball burrs in it, for instance, and have, 0.8, 1 millimeter, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, and you can have them then going down. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can have, where's my burrs? Here we go. So you buy your burrs in these little boxes, obviously like this, and boxes of 6. So these are 90-degree setting burrs. These are 414s, and they are 2.5 millimeters. So you could have your 1.2s, 1.4s, and have all of the burrs, all the sizes going back. So when you come then to wear one out, you can throw that away or discard your one size, and then you've got the next one going down. And I find these are really, really good boxes, and I got quite a few of these boxes, and I buy them from Rio, even though they cost a fortune to come over from the US. There's nobody else in the UK that's producing these boxes. So that is how I organize my burrs. I've also got the little stickle brick. Oh, remember stickle bricks? Mm-hmm. Like a stickle brick. Is it over there?
No.
No. I got like a stickle brick that I put, again, little the mops that I'm using. But for burrs, these boxes, absolutely fabulous. From Rio, you can get them in smaller ones, you can get them in bigger ones. I like that because you've got all ball burrs in one, 90-degree setting burrs in another, and they're all to hand, all in order. And that's how I like to start things off at the beginning of the year. Come the end of the year, they're everywhere. But that's how I like to organise my burrs together. Cousins do burr boxes in the UK. Are they not the same? I haven't actually looked up those burr boxes. Those are really cheap. Those are about £5–6. So I'm going to have a look at that. But I will have a look at Cousins UK. I do get a few things from them, so perhaps I'll check them out. So that's how I organise my burrs and my bits and pieces. So Louise, do we have an answer yet on the shadow or shallow?
Yes, it is shadow.
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 Say again?
Shadow.
What is it?
Shadow.
Shadow. It's a shadow. So the shadow is shadow. I think you're funny. Look at you. So it's a shadow. So it's going to be fire scale. That is what you can see. And perhaps when you look at it, you can see a little bit of greyness, or it may be slightly purple. And really, you can really notice that when you come to photograph something. In a normal light, you can't see it, but when you come to photograph it, you can really see it. The problem is, if you've roller textured it already and you can see a piece of fire scale on the piece, if you try and get it off, you may remove some of the detail from when you roller printed a leaf. So it's going to be really touch and go whether you can remove it whilst keeping all that texture on the leaf. What I would suggest you do is literally heat it up and quench it loads and loads of times in your pickle to get a bit of a fine layer over the surface, and then gently wipe it with a rouge colour covered cloth so you don't break through the surface to that fire scale. You can try removing the fire scale, but it means either using some emery paper or some buff sticks and then repolishing it. So you may, as I said, remove some of the detail, some of the texture. So you're just gonna have to take good care on trying to get it off. So that would be the reason. Best way to do it then would be to try and not get the fire scale on there in the first place. So if you've got a sheet of metal and you're roller printing it, make sure that sheet is nicely polished, double check it, put it under a light, put it into a light box with some lights around it, and make sure there's no, someone said, breathe on it, go upon the piece, and apparently that shows up the fire scale as well. So do that, make sure there's no fire scale on, then you texture it, and then when you come to put some more solder on it or attach it to something, make sure that you protect that surface 100% with some borax or some flux to keep the oxygen off that surface when you come to solder. That's the best thing that I can suggest. Louise, may we have the next question, please?
Yes. Ines is asking, what alloy makes champagne colour gold?
I don't know. What do you think? I've never heard of champagne colour gold. What colour would champagne be, Louise? We had some on the way here. What colour would champagne be?
Like a champagne colour, isn't it? It's kind of like a warm...
Is it gold? Or
gold and beige,
or is it a mixture between white and yellow, perhaps?
Yellowy beige?
I don't know. I've never heard of it, to be honest.
Golden beige? I don't know.
Breathe on it, with or without an alcoholic breath. I'm sure the silver doesn't mind.
Champagne gold.
Champagne gold. Don't know. We're going to have a look at it, to be honest. We're going to have a look up on Google now in a minute.
I like the sound of it.
Of course, champagne gold. And then you've got lots of bottles coming up then, don't you? No. We'll double check on it. Alloy, yeah. What comes up? What comes up? Champagne gold is beige, a light brown colour. It's an alloy based on gold as the main component. A beautiful champagne colour produced by mixing gold. We know what it's mixed with, don't we? Have a look on, click on the top there.
That one?
Yeah, click on that one now. We don't know. We're going to have a look. It looks pretty much the same.
Doesn't look like champagne.
It's
Not that I know.
champagne.
Champagne, darling, champagne for everyone.
There we go. The metal used for champagne gold is as follows. Scroll down, Louise. There we go. It's gold, palladium, copper, and silver. So I would say the palladium would be the extra added into that, because usually there's copper in the gold and there's a bit of silver in there as well. So I'd say, there we go. When it comes to gold, 75%. Gold, copper 25%, that makes 100, that's red gold.
So it's like a rose gold but with a bit of silver in it then, is it?
Yeah, I think so. So there we go, there's your answer. It's palladium, copper and silver in with the gold, obviously in various proportions, that actually gives it that champagne colour. But thank you, Louise, for that. It's very
75%,
good.
oh you just did that, yeah, 25%.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
75 and 20, that's 105%. That doesn't add up. This might not be the most reliable source. Somebody who can't even count to 100.
No, it does say 75% gold, 25% copper, which makes 100%, and 5% silver. No. Anyway, let's ignore that, percentages.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it's the palladium that gives it that little bit difference of a colour. But thank you very much for that. May I have a next question then, please, Louise?
Yeah. How far did I get? Sandra is saying, I keep seeing people online using an annealing pan filled with something. Do I need one? I just sold it on a block with a tile and baking pan under it.
What did if you put it on the screen, I'll have a see what she said. That's okay.
Okay.
Was it vermiculite? Pumice. Do I need one of these round pads? No, you don't. Ignore it. I've seen, and I've had some people remark the fact that the pumice, when the metal gets a little bit too hot, and sometimes the pumice actually goes into the surface. So I would be very, very careful if you do that. You don't need a soldering pan. It's sometimes quite good if you've got a piece of metal that's perhaps three-dimensional and it needs a little bit of supporting when you come to anneal it. Something with a bit of pumice might help, but to be honest, do you know what? A simple soldering block like that, or one of the little 12-inch soldering blocks, whatever you've got, soldering boards, that is all you need. You don't need anything flash or anything like that. You don't even necessarily need to have it on a turntable, because you can turn it around with your tweezers, or just turn the board around and get to the other side. But the piece is going to be so small. I think a turntable is going to be ideal if you're raising some hollowware and you've got to turn the piece around to get all the way around it. But if it's just a flat piece of jewellery, board, no problems at all. Just use your board. Don't bother wasting your money on a pumice pan on a turntable. Don't bother. Next question, please, my dear.
You just answered the pumice, didn't you?
Yeah.
Patricia is asking who makes the best dividers.
I've got a gorgeous pair of dividers, and I have they're not, the dividers that I got, these are not cheap. These are from Alex. Alex Tools. Alexander, yeah, Alexander, he's an awesome setter. I know Sutton Tools sell these, as do GRS. I love these dividers. They are absolutely dinky. They are, what's that, 3-inch, tiny ones. The tips you can actually remove as well, so you can sharpen the tips to make sure they're nice and accurate. And I absolutely love these dividers. They are small, they are tiny, and these are brilliant. And I use these for laying out divisions, for setting stones and that sort of thing, because they are absolutely, look at that, you know how small they are. They really are absolutely tiny. So Alex Tools, go on to GRS. They have them on there. They have them in 2 different sizes. These are my favourites. Literally, these are 3-inch. Let's go onto that camera there. There we go. They are literally 3-inch dividers, and they come in a gorgeous little box. That the box will double up as a burr holder as well, and they also have the replacement tips in there as well. So yeah, Alex Tools. There are other people going to have their own preferences. I love my Alex dividers. Maybe have a next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Leslie is asking, what's the best way to make a bezel punch for setting thick bezels? What will I need, please?
A bezel punch.
A bezel punch.
You can just get a nail. Just grab yourself, let me just widen this camera, it's a little bit on the close side. Just grab yourself a nail. This is like a 6-inch nail. Just grab something like this, and all you need to do is cut the end off the bottom. I'd also cut the top off as well, and then you've got a nice straight edge. What I would do then, just trying to see what I've got in my drawers here. There we go. So there's a nail that I used, and I just simply filed a little bit of a chisel point on the end of that, and I've just polished it. But that is literally all you're going to need. I would have that as a flat face, something very similar to this. And that is all you're really going to need. This is a lot smaller. What's the length of this? This is 3 inch, just over 3 inch, 8 centimeters in length. Something like this is going to be ideal. I wouldn't have and keep the head on a nail. It's just that little bit too big. But these little nails I got here, good question. What's the diameter, Andrew? The diameter of these nails is around about 6-7 millimeters. 6 millimeters in diameter. It's cheap as chips. Everyone's got a nail lying around, haven't they? Everyone's got the yes, it's a nail, or any sort of little steel bars. These are some rectangular steels. You know the steel that that you have with the door handle, the little square that goes to the door handles that your knobs attach onto, to be able to open the catch. Anything like that. Any piece of metal. It doesn't even have to be hardened. I wouldn't even harden it. You just want to basically file the tops, buff it, polish it, nice and shiny, and you can use that then to tap around. So it's a piece of 6-inch nail, 4-inch nail, it's all you're going to need. Cheap. You don't need to buy punches for things like that, for doing bezels. Anything like that is going to work absolutely fine. Maybe have the next question then, please, Louise.
Yes.
Have a
What are
sweetie.
you throwing at me now?
Have a sweet.
Thank you. Okay, Rebecca is asking, is the process for annealing 18 karat yellow gold the same as for 925 silver? If not, could you please explain how to and how often to anneal 18 karat yellow gold for wedding rings?
It's primarily the same. You just got to heat the metal up to a very, very dull red. So if you want to get a nice accurate temperature, thing to do is to turn off all the lights that are around you. Make sure it's nice, not dark, but there's no bright lights around you. Then just warm it up. You can see the true color of the metal a lot better than if you had bright lights all around you. As soon as you see a very, very slight color, a slight pink, slight salmon pink on the metal, that's all you need to do. You can keep it there. You can pull the torch away so it keeps that sort of heat there. Keep it there for a few seconds, then take it off. If it's yellow gold, it benefits from being put into acid or safety pickle. Wait until it's a black heat. Wait until there's no color. Wait until it sort of turns black, and then you can quench it then in your acid or your safety pickle, and that's all you're going to need. I can't really tell you how often you need to anneal it. Only you will be able to know when it needs annealing. If you're bending it around just to make a simple wedging band, you don't need to anneal it. If you buy... Wait, we've got our... Thank you very much, Martin. It's working today. Thank you you are amazing. Thank you very much, Martin. Really do appreciate it. There we go. And the lights are flashing. Oh my gosh, it's all working today, Louise.
Wow, it's overload.
Got to turn the thing off now.
Good luck.
Thank you very much for that. Really do appreciate it.
Martin.
Very kind. Thank you, Martin. What was I saying about annealing? When you buy a piece of metal from a bullion dealer, it usually comes annealed or soft, which is, you're not going to need to anneal it again. If you start to cut it, no problems. Come to bend it into a band, you're not going to anneal it and need to anneal it again. If you're going to roll it and you deform it by about a third of its original thickness, then I would anneal it and then keep on rolling it. And then before then you bend it round into, everything is okay now. And then you can bend it round into the shape that you want, but you'll be able to have a feel, and the metal won't be necessarily be bending or moving, and you'll find that 18 karat will be a lot easier to bend, and it will prolong its annealness more so than a 9 karat and silver would. So there we go. I'll be drawing the wire from a coin. Nice. Yeah. So all you want to do is melt it down into an ingot. And I'm going to try this. A lot of people say you need to hammer the piece to deform and flatten the crystals before you come to roll it. I don't know whether hammering the piece is beneficial. Some people do, some people don't. I'm the party that doesn't hammer their ingot. I just simply start to put it through the rolling mill, because my argument is if you hammer it, it crunches the crystals. Well, if you roll it, it crunches the crystals. So that's my argument. But yeah. So get your ingot, put it through the rolling mill, deform it a little bit. If you feel that it's a little bit hard when it goes to the rolling mill, take it out, anneal it. Don't forget, if you've got too many bright lights, put like perhaps a board on top, or just shield it from the bright light. Warm it up until you get a nice slight bit of glow. Let it cool down for a few seconds. Pop it in the acid, wipe it dry, carry on working with it, and that's the best way. There we go. Have you guys gone over places to get ingots? I've had a bit of a hard time finding a site I'm willing to trust in the USA. Right, oh, it's going off again, Louise. It's going off again. Why is it going off again? My lights aren't flashing.
I don't know.
I don't know, but thank you very much, whatever's happening here, Louise. Right, maybe have our next question then, please, Louise. Once I turn this off.
Okay, Margot is saying what I can do if I still see the tiny pink line after my soldering, hard solder. I have tried pickling it again and sanding, but it doesn't help.
Right, we talk about silver.
Doesn't say.
If you're using hard solder, you really shouldn't be getting a pink lines. The hard solder is the best type of solder to use when you're using any metal, because the alloy of the solder is the nearest it's going to be to the original metal. Sometimes you can overwork it, sometimes you can over polish it, and we can over polish it and that'll cause a little bit of a dip. But if you have done it correctly and make sure there's no impurities on the solder joint or on the solder or on the piece itself, you shouldn't really be getting a pink line. I've never seen a pink line. It could be the fact that when it goes into the acid, perhaps it's the acid that is slightly contaminated, and perhaps there may be some copper oxides within the pickle or your safety pickle from quenching copper that is actually being transferred onto the silver when it goes into the pickle. So that could well be the reason as well. Also, don't keep the piece in the pickle too long as well. I always like to have the piece warm when it goes in the pickle because it works far quicker. Some people will actually say don't do that because the pickle goes into the copper, into the solder itself. I had to think then, but I've never found that. So I always tend to, not red hot, but when the piece is warm, quench it in the silver into the pickle. I'm getting confused now, and it goes tss. That's great, into the water, and you can carry on working with it. So don't leave it in the safety pickle or the pickle too long. Maybe have another question then, please. Oh, you're busy typing here.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Oh, Ashley's asking, can you explain about insurance if you want to sell pieces in the UK?
Public liability insurance. Get in contact with a company called TH March. They got a place in Birmingham, they got a place down in Tiverton towards Plymouth. TH March is going to be the best people that you're going to go to. They will supply you with all different types of insurance. We've been with TH March our entire lives, over 35 years. Never had a problem with them at all. If you have a problem with filling out the form, they will do a Zoom call. They even come out to us and we go through the forms. No problems at all. You should have public liability insurance. So if you happen to make something that is a bit sharp and that causes a damage then to your customer and they claim, you've got insurance to cover yourself. So public liability, I think it's 5 million is the minimum now. Sounds a lot of money. And it isn't that expensive, but yes, if you are selling, you should have public liability. It is public liability, isn't it, Louise?
I thought that was if you had premises that you let the public onto, but Jason and I were talking about this the other day because I know they do waxes, don't they? I think wax melts and you have to have it for that in case somebody decides to eat it or... Yeah.
I'm sure it's public liability. I think it's 5 million.
But you need to do that if you don't have a physical premises.
I think it's the item that you make, if your item causes a damage, if your item causes damage to that person's ear or anything like that, they could claim off you. I think sure it's public liability, and I think it's 5 million is the least amount you can insure for, and it's not too bad. So yeah, thmarch.co.uk. Just go and check them out. And when you get there, say that Andrew very recommended, which would be lovely. Thank you. Next question then, please.
Okay, the Mob 1080. How do I know how much silver to add to my dirty scrap in order to keep the purity to 925?
Okay, there is no definite percentage. What you're going to have to realise is a lot of people will say if you're melting down, you've got to have at least 50% fresh grain, and you can add 50% of your old sprues or old bits of silver. That's great, okay? But sometimes if you've been melting some silver down and you've had lots of chain and there's been lots of solder within it, the solder is going to lower the quality of that metal. So what I always do, I always keep a little pot or little bag of some pure silver casting grain. And each small little piece is like 1/10 of a gram, 1/5 of a gram, something like that. It's really, really small. And if we are doing some casting, if we need to melt anything down, for a start, we don't try and melt anything with too much solder. We always try and keep that to one side because the solder is not good if you melt it down because it lowers the quality, it incorporates it, it adds metals that do not lend themselves to being worked too much. If you're casting, not a problem. If you're melting down to make into an ingot to start to roll, try and have some nice good scrap without too much solder, because it's the solder that will cause the cracking, because it's the solder, the alloy in that solder. So I would always add a couple of little casting grains. So if I'm melting down, say 20 grams of scrap, I would always add perhaps, I don't know, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% of casting grain. So if I'm melting down 20 grams, I may add half a gram of pure silver just to raise that quality up a little bit. I don't think there is any definite percentage, because in theory what you're melting down has been assayed as 925 as silver, but always add a little bit to raise it just in case. If you are adding 50-50, so 50% pure, 50% casting grain and 50% ingots or casting sprues, I would always add again 2 or 3% of pure silver just to raise that quality up a bit, because it's better to raise it up a little bit so it's just above 925. So when you do send it off to an assay office to have it assayed, they're more likely to come back with it slightly over, which is great. And it's better to come back with it slightly over than under, and they won't hallmark it and you've got to remake the piece again. So the fact that you're adding perhaps 5% pure silver, which is going to cost you, I don't know, 20-30 pence. It's far better to do that than to have a piece come back and not being able to be hallmarked and you've got to start all over again. So there's no definite percentage, just go with what you think. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay, Christy is asking, can I fuse fine silver granules to sterling silver without solder?
In theory, no, you can't, because you rely upon the metals melting at the same time to fuse. You can fuse the ends of fine silver because it's fine silver through and through, and when the ends come around, they're still fine silver, and the metal will fuse because the surface will actually melt at the same time. Once you add alloy to a metal, you alter the characteristics, and that's why you add alloys to a metal, is to make it stronger, is perhaps to alter the melting temperatures of the piece. Hence, that's what you do with solder. The more alloy you add to the silver, the lower the melting temperature. So you've added alloys to 925, or your bullion dealer has. So you've got 925, you've got sterling, you've got some fine silver. They will not melt at the same time. And to fuse, you need the metals to melt at the same time for that fusing to happen. And it will not work. So you're going to find that I think the fine silver melts at a higher temperature than the sterling silver. So by the time your surface of your balls start to flash, start to become molten, the sterling silver is not up to temperature yet. And by the time the sterling silver has reached the right temperature, your balls must probably have melted and lost their shape and deformed. So it's not something that I would recommend. You'd have to use solder just to be on the safe side. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Kristen has some silver scrap that is really tarnished. Do I need to clean it before melting it down?
No, you don't, because you can just simply pop it into the crucible, and just start to melt it down. You don't necessarily need to remove the tarnish that is on it. The tarnish will just burn off when it's completely molten. If it doesn't, it'll act as a little bit of a slag on the top of the, look at that for slag, the slag upon the top. So then when you swish your crucible round and round and round, a bit of slag that's on top of the silver with all the little impurities that might be some of the tarnish will be taken into the crucible, and that's why you always swish the crucible around when it's molten to get rid of any slight impurities into the actual coating of the crucible, so when you pour it, there is nothing coming out. But you shouldn't have to clean it. No, you shouldn't. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Sally has sandcast a silver ring with a little CZ in it. All good until I tried to solder some granulations around the CZ. It has now gone cloudy. How can I prevent this next time?
Okay, so the problem that you've got is what you may have done is perhaps quenched the CZ or CZ in water or in the acid, which has caused it to shatter. Sometimes it just gets just that little bit too hot. Your best bet would be to get stones that are made for including in PMC, precious metal clay, or metal clay safe stones, because they can withstand the temperatures of melting silver. Hence the reason why you get your precious metal clay, you put the stone in it, you fire it, and the stones can withstand it. So I would always try and do that, to try and get the heat the heat resistant stones, if that makes sense, specifically made for metal clay. They're going to be your best bet. Or design it in a way where you don't have to solder after the stone has been set. So also try and protect the stone itself directly from the flame. You don't want the flame hitting the stone, because the stone could overheat. So I would personally never solder right next to a cubic zirconia, a CZ, because it's going to damage the stone. You may be able to protect an area near it if you were resizing a ring and you had, I'm just trying to find if I got a ring in here. Here we go. So for argument's sake, we've got a little sapphire down here. I know the sapphires can withstand heat, but I'd always take care. So for something like this, I would get some cool heat, which is that lovely green gel that I would put the bottom of the ring in, then you can solder the top half here. I would do that with cubic zirconias as well, because the cool heat can take away the heat, can stop the heat from reaching the stone. So I would never chance soldering right next to a cubic zirconia unless you have these special heat resistant stones. Double check, you can do it. Absolutely. But just Chloe saying, I was told to add a pinch or two of powdered borax whilst melting the powder. It does, and if you check out any of my films on At the Bench and also on YouTube, always get some powdered borax when you're swooshing your, sorry that was swooshing, when you're swooshing the metal around in the crucible. It helps the surface become nice and clean. If you're at a pinch and you don't have any powdered borax, use the end of your cone. Go and just dab, Jason does that, and just dabs the ends of the borax cone into the metal, and that will help not purify it or refine it, but it'll help just get rid of any slight impurities that are on the surface. But yeah, good question, good point, good answer. Next question. Next question. Public liability, yes, there we go.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Bridget is asking, can you solder a jump ring on gold-plated necklace, or is that a bad idea? I'm assuming it isn't possible. It's
not going to be possible because the temperature of the flame is going to burn the gold plate off, so it's something that would never, ever be able to do. Redneck Stacker, very quickly, what's a good site to buy the metal rings molds for sand casting? If you want the round rings, most tool suppliers will sell them, the round rings. If you want the rectangular frames, hold fire, Durston are making some for us, and hopefully we're going to be getting them very, very soon to try them out. There was a guy who was producing them on eBay, and there was a link to his eBay site from, I think it was the rectangular mold that we did for twig casting. He sells vinyl as well. People are getting confused. Oh, we see in vinyl, it's the wrong one. He used to produce them. Whether he still does now, I don't know. But hang fire, Durston are making some for us, and as soon as we get them here, I shall certainly let you know. But the round rings, any tool suppliers, get the ones with a hole in the side as well. Much, much better than just having it going through the end. Anyway, sorry Louise, next question please.
Okay, Ear to the Ground is saying, new to smithing, long time opal cutter. What's the best gauge bottom for, and what's the best gauge bottom and sides for Australian opal, please?
I don't think it matters what opal it's going to be, or what stone, to be honest. The bottom, I don't think matters too much. You should be good. We talk about gauges again, don't we? And I can never, I always refer back to my table. 0.5 millimeter is something that I would use for the bottom. What's a 0.5 millimeter? What's that? 14, oh, see, I've missed out. Is that 10, 24, 14, 10, 16, 18, 20? 24 gauge. 24 gauge is 0.5 millimeter. If I, you know what that is?
Did hear that then.
Ah, yeah, something bumped, yeah. 24 gauge, I do believe, is 0.5 millimetre. The door opened, didn't it?
No, so something weird happened. Then you could hear it. Did you hear it? Did you guys hear it?
I heard a bump, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know.
Oh,
it's really creepy.
It's Mrs. Lloyd. So 0.5 millimetre, 24 gauge for the bottom. For the sides, it really depends upon you, whether it's sterling silver or fine silver. 1 millimetre, so 18 gauge, 0.9, 19 gauge for the sides is the sort of thickness that I would use. But 0.5 millimetre, so 24 gauge for the bottom would be absolutely ample. I must learn my gauges, because everyone talks in gauges, don't they? But we talk in millimetres. Next question, just looking at the questions there that Anne-Marie was asking. Anyway, next question then, please, Louise.
Okay. Okay. Ooh, how far did we get? Solder, no.
Yeah, talking of poltergeists, the other day Louise was up here and she felt someone tap her shoulder.
It just went like that. I was coming out the toilet because my office
is
up here now.
That, yeah.
It doesn't matter because it's next door, isn't it? It's there. And I was going back
into your office.
And I knew nobody was there, but somebody touched me on the shoulder here like that, and it was so real that it made me turn around. And of course there was nobody there. And I knew nobody was up there, but somebody touched me and I went.
But you automatically look round, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was. I felt it, yeah. It was weird. It was. I'm not saying it was a ghost. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't say that if the ghost's here, if the ghost's listening. Then of course it was a ghost. I don't want to make it angry or anything. But yeah.
This reason why Jason doesn't like coming up into the attic.
I've got all shivers down my spine now. I'm scared tomorrow. I didn't mean it. It's real.
All right. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay.
Does silver and solder work the same? You're too slow, Louise. Yes, it does. Yes, it. It pretty much does. Yes, the same thing. Borax, everything else. Hard, medium, easy. Hard, medium, easy. Hard, medium, soft. Yeah, hard, medium, easy. Exactly the same as silver as in gold. Sorry, Louise. Next question.
That's okay. Penny is asking. I bought some sterling silver granules in Dubai some years ago. I'm nearly set up to melt and create ingots, but how can I be sure of the granules' purity? We haven't forgotten about your topaz, because we're talking about opals. We haven't forgotten about your topaz, Penny.
We still got to get it done, haven't we?
I know. I did remind you twice in the week.
You did. I need just grab me a stone that's scratched, okay? And the metal, the gold, the diamond paste is downstairs. So we do have everything. We just got to find the time to do it.
We've got to find a topaz as well, haven't you?
Oh, we can find anything downstairs. It's okay.
It's not got to be an actual topaz, is it?
It can be a topaz. It's
going to be different.
We'll just scratch it. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's loads of stones downstairs. We'll just have a look and see what it is and see if that gold paste,
I've got one.
Diamond paste will do it. How can you be sure of the granule? I don't think you can. You can get a gold testing kit that will test silver as well. I just think you're just going to have to bite the bullet, suck it and see, just melt it and see how it goes. If you've been working with sterling silver or silver for a long time, you know how things are going to be melted, you know how things are going to look, you know how things are going to be, how long it's going to take to melt and so forth. So if you bought it as sterling, in theory, it should be sterling silver. There's no definite way unless you get an X-ray machine to be able to test it or test it with some acids. But then again, you're not going to be able to test it to get an exact purity with that. So just melt it down, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to understand how it all goes. That'll be your best bet. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Okay. In silver, each of the ground. Sorry, this was going back to the opals. In silver, I meant to add. Yeah, I think you did answer it in silver, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Linda is in Portugal. Just started bezel making, polishing all by hand, no power tools yet. I'm not getting 100% perfect finish. Am I being too light-handed when sanding? Scared I rub through.
I don't think you're going to be able to rub through the metal, but if you're doing it by hand, it's such a long, laborious task. So I would, yes, have to get something like your 600 grit, 1200 grit, and then perhaps 2000 grit if there is such a thing, and then go through all the different 3M papers. But what I would always have used my whiteboard today, it's the first time. So what I would always do is you have your piece of metal, yeah, and you want to produce it, whatever it is, it could be a bezel, it could be whatever it is, you'd always perhaps use your grit and you always go in this direction, okay? You're going to buff in that direction, okay? Then you come along and use your slightly finer grit or your next piece of 3M paper, and then you go in the opposite direction and you go in that direction. And what you want to be left with is only the marks that are left from that grit. Okay, if you see any other little marks running in the 90 degrees, those will always be there. You need to get rid of those, so keep going in that direction. Okay, so then you've gone in this direction, then with the next grit, the next finer grit, you go back again in 90 degrees. So you always go in this direction. And if you see anything that is left then in this direction, you need to remove them and so forth. Does that make sense? So you always buff at 90 degrees to the last grit, and then you can be sure you go down and down and down, and then you can come along and polish. That is the best way. If you keep going in the same direction, if you keep going in this direction, and then you come along then with your finer grade, and you keep coming in that direction, you don't know whether you've actually got rid of all the fine lines or from the previous grit. By going in this direction, all the lines then should be going in this direction. There should be no lines in that direction. That makes sense. Yeah, cool. All right, next question then, please, Louise.
Okay, Kathy is saying, I would love to see a spinner ring tutorial, not the type with the flared ends, but the type with bands soldered to the edges to hold the middle spinning ring.
Okay, no problem. We'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to write that down, Andrew?
You best make a note, Louise, because I know what you like. You can make a note.
I was going to say put it on your whiteboard.
Okay, spinner ring, yeah. So you want to have piece of metal, piece of metal, and piece of metal, yeah. I think the camera's still on you, but there we go. Spinner ring. Okay, no problem, will do. For at the bench, that'll be, absolutely, yeah. I think we've done a few of these. We've done a few films like this. We did it when we infilled it with resin. So it's pretty much the same idea, but yeah, and then you can put something in the middle as a spinner. But yeah, we can do that for you by all means, yeah. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not been very organised today. We did the gauge for bezel size, didn't we, for the opals? Silver Wrangler, I would love a recommendation for a shape and size in millimetres of a first graver for bright cutting around a bezel.
I don't think it matters too much because you don't use all the graver. Have I got a graver? I'm sure I had a spare one here, didn't I? I do have quite a few. Yeah. So I got a few here. The thing is, okay, let me just draw it on the board a second. So with a graver, it's like a spit stick or a sculper. So the face would look that sort of profile. Okay, so it's quite a sharp. This is one here that is that shape, and the graver goes back that way. Okay, so that is the shape. It doesn't matter on the width because all you use is this little tip down here. So once you have the graver and you've mounted it in the handle, yeah, so you've mounted it in the handle, that comes around like that. Then what you want to do is take a big scoop out of it. So the graver is that. So this is what I'm saying. It doesn't really matter too much. I've lost my there is it. So you take a big bit out of that. So the side view, there's your graver as it comes. You do that. You take this massive piece out of it. So you get rid of all that because then all you're left with is this. Okay. Then you put a 45-degree cut on the bottom. Okay. So then you're left with that. So basically, this is all you're going to polish is this area down here. So you can have this massive graver that could be as wide as that, but you're only keeping this little section down here. And that's all then you need to polish up, and that would be coming around a bit more of a 45-degree angle.
Sandra's asking, why are they just sold with that big chunk out of them?
Why aren't they?
Why are they? Why are they just sold with that big chunk out of them?
Manufacturing cost, I suppose. But don't forget, the gravers can be all different lengths as well. So they come in one set length, but usually you snap the graver down to fit you. And sometimes the face that you do this to is the part that you snap off. So if they did this, you'd have to snap the other half off. But by doing it that way, you just remove that yourself. I don't know why they don't do it. You can find, people will do it for you. If you look on the internet, there's some guy that'll do it on Instagram, and he sells you gravers. But that is what I would do. I would just buy, I think it's called a scorper or a spit stick. Even if you wanted to get a face that was a spit stick, which is that, like a lozenge sort of shape, and that would be your graver. And then again, you still take that off and still do that.
It was, why aren't they? Not why are they?
I think just manufacturing costs, to be honest. And again, if you have one that is this shape, you only use this little area down here. So it doesn't really matter on the shape. It can be cut straight like this. It doesn't matter because you only use this end little piece down here. And let's have a look. What's the width? I'll tell you now. The width at the end of this one is 1.5 millimeter. So this distance on mine from here to here is 1.5 millimeter. So that's the distance there. And that's all you need, is the smallest amount of metal. It's about 1.5 square, so that's about 1.5 as well. And that's all you need, and that's the best thing. And providing this area is polished, because obviously if you have a graver and you put that, and there's your handle here, and you have all this face, you've got to sharpen the whole cutting face, but you don't cut with any of this. You remove all of that. So this is the area down here. You just got to concentrate on having it polished. You don't have to concentrate on all the rest. It's quicker and easier then to polish up the graver if all you've got to do is polish up that little face instead of the whole thing. There we go. Next question, please, Louise.
Shirley wants to know what happened to your Bigger the Balls t-shirt.
Do you know what? I was only thinking of that the other day. Like everything else, it's just so much I've got to do. I was actually watching that, the 12-hour, the other day, and I'm thinking, I must get the bigger the balls, the flatter the bottom. I know. If you have any designs that you want to give me, or if you know, if you're a graphic artist, anything like this, the idea is you want to make a t-shirt, okay? You have small balls, the balls will be nicely rounded, but the bigger the balls, the flatter the bottom. Does that make sense? And we want the bigger your balls are, the flatter your bottom is. Okay, something like that. So this is the graphic I want. If you're a graphic artist, please get in touch and draw me something like that. Next question, please.
Okay, there's a bit of chat going on about, I'm assuming it's I think I've missed a bit, the focused sessions, you know, where we're just concentrating on one particular area.
Yes.
And people are saying tools. Janet suggested tools, and
tools for starting out.
How people make their own tools.
Making your own tools. Okay.
That might be a good one for Zoom if we can get that on a Zoom meeting, and people can.
Yeah, and what sort of things? What tools for starting out? You mean that sort of thing?
What was it, Janet? What did you say?
Yeah. The soldering went well, didn't it? The soldering was good.
Well, all 6 hours of it.
Come on, I can talk. I can talk the hind legs off a donkey when it comes to soldering.
Don't we know it? Sorry, Janet. What was it that you suggested? Something which everybody said was great, and I think I just caught the tail end of it. Yep. Can you please let us know what your topic was?
So I think somebody was also talking about a soldering pick as well. Little tungsten soldering picks. Tungsten picks, great. You can get one titanium soldering picks as well. You can buy them really, really cheaply. Yes.
Yep. Okay. Interesting how people make their own tools. Yeah. Have you guys gone over places to get ingots? I have had a bit of a hard time finding a site, and I am willing to trust in the USA.
Buying ingots or making
places to get ingots.
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to give you any help with that, I'm afraid.
Romy's saying I love seeing the handmade tools. Yes, it's on handmade. Oh, handmade tools. Yeah, making tools, modifying tools.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we'll have a look at that then.
Okay, fab.
Yeah, by all means.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you want to write it down?
I have done.
Oh, well done.
Making tools. Making tools. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Okay. This is Kristen. How and where do I find images to print, cut out, and then stick on my silver for sawing out?
The best thing to do would be go on somewhere like on Google to find some images, some black and white. Clip art is really good. Usually if you put in clip art, the majority of the clip art that is out there is going to be royalty free. So that is what perhaps I would use. There's lots of websites out there for royalty free designs. A lot of them you got to pay for. Things like Shutterstock and ISI Print, something like that I think it's called. But yeah, just Google an image, Google cats, Google palm trees, and perhaps you'll find some designs black, and just search like black and white palm trees, black and white cats. Although I suppose if you choose black and white cats, you're going to get pictures of black and white cats, aren't you? But Google images and just put clip art, black, white, and lots of images should come up. But be careful in case they are copyrighted. Things like you mustn't do the Olympic rings, for instance, because they're copyright. So you must not actually produce an Olympic ring, pendant, ring, anything like that, because that is copyrighted. Mickey Mouse and obviously all those sort of Star Wars figures you in theory cannot do. And also don't do things like Gucci that somebody was doing that we saw on Facebook. No brands, nothing like that. Make sure you don't infringe any copyrights.
But then if she's not selling them?
If she's not...
We talked about this the other week, didn't we?
If she's not selling them, well then she's fine. But as soon as she starts to sell them and takes any money, in theory, there we go. Domain-free artwork. Thank you.
And Romeo suggested Unsplash.
Is that a website?
Unsplash for royalty-free images.
There we go. Yeah, I'll write these down. These are quite interesting. Yeah, Unsplash. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much. We do appreciate that. Next question, then, please, Louise.
Okay. Chili93 has a question. Did I miss somebody's question? I don't think I missed a question.
Chili93. What was Chili93's question?
Sorry if I've missed a question.
Just repeat it, and we'll have a look.
Okay. KDW Wilson. I'm a newbie. What's the best torch to use besides an acetylene tank and the best pickling?
Okay, so up here in this studio, we use these little torches. We use this like a creme brulee torch, and they are fabulous for what they are. This is a slightly larger one, as you can see, okay? And they are absolutely brilliant. You can do so much just with these when it comes to making jewellery. You can do nearly everything with these little torches. If you want to progress to something that has perhaps a little bit more beef, a little bit more power, the Hokey that we know they sell in the US, anything that comes with a propane tank. Here in the UK, we have things like Sievert, and they do them around Europe, but not in the US, unfortunately. But anything that has a tank of propane, don't go for the little disposable tanks, the handheld ones, and you have the little fitting that screws on the top. They're okay, but they're very limiting. But I would progress from something like this that takes the butane lighter fuel in the bottom and it comes into the handle there, but then you get a separate tank of propane. Simple propane tank is going to be fine for you. You can progress further and go up into like a Smith's little torch that needs oxygen and propane, or oxygen and acetylene, but then the cost is an awful lot more. But something simple like a propane tank, one hose that comes out, and when the gas comes out of the nozzle, it gets mixed up with the oxygen as it draws it through, which then produces that gorgeous flame. pickle. Do you mean a pickle solution? I would always go for something like sodium bisulfate, which is a safety pickle. So it's not necessarily sulfuric acid. It's sold as safety pickle. It's sold as, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't remember. That's commercial, or you can use something like citric acid or vinegar, although it isn't as good. I would always try and keep the pickle warm. It reacts better and cleans better. So I've got, this is like a little mini pickle tank here, basically like a little baby bottle warmer. Some people will use slow cookers. I find a slow cooker a bit too big. If you have a little baby bottle warmer, as in, you know, the babies from the bottles. I don't know. Let's just losing it today.
That's the international symbol for a pint, isn't it? Can't do a baby booze.
Yeah. A little warmer that warms the bottles of milk up for the babies. Yeah, something like that. Oh, in fact, I still got it up here. I have to take this downstairs now for next week, won't I? So this is a simple little, widen this one up. There we go. This is a bottle warmer. Is this a brand? No idea what brand it is. But what I would do, this is your bottle warmer. You'd have water in there. You'd have your safety pickle in a little plastic container. That would go in the bath. You've got a little bit of a temperature gauge on the front. The water bath is nice and warm, and it'll keep your pickle nice. If the pickle then evaporates, the water evaporates, just top up the pickle with a little bit of water. But that's great because the pickle all stays within the little container. So something like that is great. That was really cheap. That was off eBay for about £9 postage paid, because people just get rid of the baby bottle warmers. So get one of them. It could be Boots. I think that may be Boots or maybe Mothercare. These little devices here, this is like £100, £110, which I think is a lot of money for something that £10 can do exactly the same. There we go. Maybe have the next question then, please, Louise.
Just don't warm a baby's bottle in it afterwards.
Best not.
Jimmy is asking, what is a reasonable price for 4mm palladium wedding ring, please?
4mm palladium wedding ring. Palladium used to be a very good price. Used to be a fraction less than 9 carat white. I will have a look for you now, see if I can find, it's a very awkward question actually, because it's going to take a long time to try and find this for you. May have a next question, and I'll look at this now whilst I'm trying to find out, Louise, if you don't mind.
Yes, we did the ingots one, didn't we? Michael is asking, what's your opinion on vermiculite board for welding or soldering?
Vermiculite is okay. I'd look at Palladium 950. We use solder boards, and these are fine. I've never particularly tried vermiculite, although it is expanded volcanic rock, isn't it? Which does have great thermal properties. I've never tried it. I would expect it would be just as good, to be honest. So yeah, give it a try and let us know, happily. 4mm, sorry, okay, so a 3mm, size H, 2.3 grams, £400. Oh, Palladium 950. That is a lot of money. That's a 4mm. So yeah, there we go. That's just get very, very rough. Okay, next question, please, Louise.
Okay.
Don't want to dwell on that too long.
Marge is asking, sometimes after rolling out sheet gold and silver, then after annealing, there seems to be tiny bubble-like bumps that form. What is that?
That is usually because you've got some air trapped in with the metal itself. Sometimes when it comes to, I expect you've melted and rolled out your own metal. What you'll find, if you have silver, silver will absorb oxygen from the torch. If you have a flame that is too hot, there's so much oxygen coming out, the silver will just take it. The silver will absorb that oxygen into the metal. So then when you come to work it, it's going to be slightly like an arrow. I love this analogy. You talk,
You're on a diet, Andrew. Why are you talking about earrings?
So there's air in it, and the problem is you squash it, and then when you heat it up, the air will expand, and that is the reason what is happening. Some people will say what you got to do, as I said, when you have an ingot, is to hammer it and hammer it completely closed. That may work, but it is because there is air trapped in the metal. What I would always try and do is not have the flame too hissy, so it mustn't be going because that's too much oxygen coming out. It must be a slightly softer flame, and though it may take a little bit longer to melt down, you're going to have better results with your rolling out if you do it that way. Absolutely, and that could well be the reason. Trapped air. Next question, please.
Do you have any tips to engrave signet rings for beginners?
Oh, yeah. Now, you've got to practice your drawing. Before you even touch a piece of metal, you've got to practice your drawing. I would perhaps get a nice book or some pages from the internet with lovely scroll work, you know, like your A's that are sort of done like this, okay? And you've got to practice drawing all of this. And then you've got to think about which lines are going to be thicker, which lines then are going to be thinner, you know, and this, so you've got to think about the whole thing, haven't you? So you've got to think about thicknesses, and then you just got to practice. You've got to practice with the engraver, make sure that the engraver is going to be sharp. But it is important to get the drawing right first of all. Some people will simply use ring clamps. They would simply just put the ring in and hold on to the ring clamp, and then get the engraver, then just to go through and engrave it. That's great. It's just practice, practice, practice. Make sure that your engravers are sharp. That is your number one priority. And as we were saying a little bit earlier on, when you have that little face here, this has to be completely polished, and also the belly underneath has to be polished as well. Some people will put on a little bit. So in theory, that bottom is like this. Some people put on a little bit of a belly by here on this bit as well. So it's, if I exaggerate it, it'll be that shape, okay? And those areas have to be polished, and when they're polished, they will produce a nice polished surface as you engrave into it. It's just practice, practice, practice. There's a good book all about engraving. I can't remember what it is now, but I do have it at home. If I remember, I will bring it in. Someone did mention, did I bring my book in? I brought it in last week, my Oppie Untracks Jewellery Concepts and Technology, but I do have loads more books that I will bring in. Last question, do you think, Louise?
I'm going to give you another two.
Yes, please.
Sandy is asking, does fire scale matter when melting down silver?
Not really. Again, we were talking about this. When you melt it down, any impurities will come to the surface. It's the cupric oxide, and in theory it will stay there, and that is the reason why you sprinkle some borax upon the melted metal, or you dunk the end of your borax current into it just to remove all the impurities. Keep swishing it around, all the impurities then get taken and deposited into the crucible. So it doesn't matter too much, you just got to make sure that when the silver is poured that you've swished it around and you've taken all the impurities, and the surface has got to be lovely, lovely and shining. If there's any sort of little dimples within that surface, it's not clean. There's impurities on the surface that you've got to get rid of. As we said, you sprinkle some borax over it, it'll clean the surface, and then you can pour it. Next question?
Yeah, Nika is saying, I don't have a ventilation system in my studio. Any tips on how to find a low budget solution? Is it really necessary or have one, or does opening the windows do the work?
A lot of people talk about ventilation, and I think America tends to be really hot with this ventilation. I don't know why it is solely America that is really hot on this. We don't have an awful lot of ventilation in this country. There's not an awful lot of people that talk about ventilation. It's majority people from the US. For me, I've never had ventilation. I've never had any need to it because I don't do an awful lot. If you have things like solder paste...
That's not to say that you shouldn't have it.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
If you have things like solder paste, but don't get me started, that will produce a lot of...
We've gone an hour, over an hour, without getting frothy.
There will be a few fumes given off. That's why we never use solder paste. It's absolute rubbish. But yeah, open the door, open a window. As long as you've got some circulation of air going through, if that's all you've got, that's fine. Some people will have a little bit of a system where when they're soldering, they will have, like metal ducting. It's about 4-inch diameter. Metal ducting, flexible tube that they put on the back of the soldering, and they have a little exhaust motor. Perhaps it goes into something like what's it called? The exhaust that goes in the bathroom, not exhaust, the expel air. Extractor. It's an extractor, but expel air is the brand. I used to have a hose going and fastened it to an expel air, an extractor that went into a pillowcase when we were polishing, and that sucked the dust out through the expel air, through the extractor into the pillowcase, and that got some dust. And I would do exactly the same thing when it comes to for some extraction if you can't have a through draft. So I would open the door and open the window if I was doing a lot of soldering, and then you have the through draft going through that would take the fumes. Don't stand above it when you're soldering. Always stand back and let the fumes go. Ooh, I'm starving, Louise.
Are you?
Absolutely, yeah. Should we have one last question?
Okay. I didn't have one ready because I didn't think you were going to ask me for another one. Striker XL. When soldering, the piece should be brought up evenly, then focusing the join. At any point, should you hit the solder directly?
Okay, yeah. So, again, there's a lot of misconception when it comes to soldering. People will post it on the Facebook group saying, my solder's melting, it goes up into a ball, but it's not running. And the majority of times it is because there's the metal that is not up to temperature. So my argument is, it's a good question to end on. I do get quite frothy when it comes to things like this. So you're heating up a ring. Okay, so there's your ring. There's your join in the ring. You come along, you put your little palline of solder on top. So this is your solder, okay? So if you put your flame here, what is going to happen? The solder is going to melt and go into a ball, okay? Because this area down here is not going to be hot enough for that solder to flow onto and into the metal and into the joint. So you do not heat up the pallion. You do not heat up the solder. I keep losing my... There it is. So you do not do that. What you want to do is heat up the metal on either side. So heat up this, do the same over here, heat up this, okay? So try not to put the flame onto the solder until the last moment, because don't forget, if the metal is not hot enough for that solder to melt, this will just go into a ball. So the metal has to be at the melting point of the solder for the solder to flow into the molecular structure of the metal and through the join. If these pieces of metal are not the right temperature, that solder will not flow. If this one here is hotter than this one, the solder will flow in this direction. It'll always flow towards the hottest part. So yes, always heat the metal, perhaps heat up the back of the ring, heat it up, get it nice and warm, then bring your flame to here, 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 and you're moving your flame back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, da, 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 and then when the metal is hot enough, the solder will flow through. You can always do this by putting the solder on a soldering board, okay? So you have the ring is, there's your join, okay? And you put your flame up here and you put the solder underneath, like that. So the solder is not in view or in contact with the flame. So it is the metal that heats up, and as soon as the metal is hot enough, the solder will go, blimey, that metal's hot enough, I think I'll melt.
Why is it Cockney?
I don't know, just Cockney solder. Have you heard of Have you ever heard of Cockney solder, Louise?
I've never heard solder talk.
It does. It talks, Louise. Every time I solder, the solder just talks to me.
Blimey, governor.
God, blimey, that's hot enough. I think I'll have a bit of that. And it
Andrew,
goes.
before you go frothy on your Cockney solder,
That's what I got to say.
do you need to heat the both sides of the joint or
Yes.
around the whole ring?
Heat at the back of the ring. It stops the back of the ring sapping all the heat out. Heat the back, heat the back, heat the back, and then bring the flame to the joint. Do, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then it will melt.
So you don't need to hit the solder at all?
I would not put the flame on the solder because it is not the flame that melts the solder. It is the metal that should melt the solder, not necessarily the flame. Correct.
Yeah, that's why some people need ventilation so they don't start to hear the solder talk. Okay.
Oh, probably giving up. Oh, I'm going. All right then. Is that it? Anything? What if using the thermogel when soldering? Okay, Madge. Well, in that case, then you would not necessarily heat the back end of where your thermal gel is. You then would have to heat up an awful lot. And this is the thing. If you're trying to heat up a whole ring, it's quicker if you heat up the whole ring and then bring the flame round to the front. If you can't do that and you've got your thermogel on the bottom of it and you can only heat the top, it's going to take that little bit longer to heat up because the heat is still trying to be transferred through it. So it will take a little bit longer. So then you'd need quite a high-powered torch or a nice hot flame just to get that top section hot enough for everything then to melt. Are there any tricks to soldering large bezel onto a large piece? Big, bushy flame. Absolutely. And I think that's about it. Yep, speak American, Andrew. Say I'm going to Walmart. Lol.
You're quite good at accents, aren't you? You can do Birmingham.
I'm quite.
You do a good Danny Dyer, don't you?
We do like a bit of Danny Dyer, don't we? Angela, drop it.
What's the question?
What's the question? Is it right or is it wrong? We start off with 3 red balls, don't we? Or whatever. No, sorry. We start off with 3 green balls. And if you start off with 3 green balls, we end up with 3 red balls. Angela, what's the question? Is it right or is it wrong? Drop it! Sorry.
It is good. It is good.
That's about it. That's all I'm doing.
Do your Birmingham accent.
Oh, my throat's going now. All right, there, how you doing? What you doing? Often go to the jewellery quarter and pop along to somewhere like Bet's Metal Sales or Cooks in Voice Street, and perhaps I'll pop along to Metal or in Drummow, and perhaps pop to HS Walsh because they're really nice boys, they are. So there we go. Okay then, everybody. That is today's question and answer for the 9th. No, it's not. It's the 6th of April. All right. Good.
Okay. Yeah. Extraordinary.
Extraordinary, Andrew.
It's a triumph, darling.
So there we go. That is the end of today's question and answer. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Sorry we didn't get around to everyone's questions. Yes, you can pour out the...
You should. That's hot enough, Governor.
Nice one. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming on today. So don't forget, this is Tuesday today, but next week we're back on Monday, which is going to be the 12th of April.
And we'll be open.
We'll be open!
We will be open.
That'd be quite good, isn't it? Because we'll be open next Monday, first time since the 20th of December. We've had 3 months,
It's going to be a bit of a culture
3.5
shock,
months.
isn't it?
We're going to be absolutely shattered, I think, this time next week.
Yeah, what's next week? To be honest, Romy, I think it's just going to be another general Q&A next week, isn't it? Because we've just got so much to do between now and then. It's just...
Haven't got time to organise anything for next Monday, particularly. It'll be just another general question and answer, I think. Yeah. Is that all right?
Yeah.
A New Zealand slang. Do you know, I have no idea with New Zealand slang.
Perhaps practice first.
Practice first before I
attempt it in public.
Make a fool of myself. All right then, so thank you very much for coming on today. Hope we've answered some of your questions. I do apologise if we haven't answered everyone's questions. There's been loads and loads of questions. Thank you all for coming on today, and thank you for everybody helping everybody else on the chat. Really do appreciate it. So if you want to get your questions in, you've got to get them in so early these days. There's been so many. Yes, Louise.
I was just going to say thank you everybody in the chat, everybody watching, but do bear in mind any advice undertaken or advice information in the chat is undertaken at your own risk, because I keep an eye on it obviously, but I don't have the technical knowledge to police it all. So yeah, just putting that out there.
Yeah, so any advice given in the chat is taken upon your own responsibility and your own...
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much indeed. Yeah, again, as everyone keeps saying, give this film a thumbs up if you like it. And don't forget, if you want to be in with a chance of winning, before I go any further, here we go. If you want to be in with a chance of winning one of Durston's belt sanders, okay, this is one of Durston's.
File your nails in no time on that, can you?
Oh, don't give me any ideas, Louise. This is one of Durston's brand new belt sanders. If you want to be in with a chance of winning it, if you check out the videos, the one before this is going to be me showing you how this works. And if you want your chance to win one of these, just literally enter the competition. And all you got to do is just put your name, address, and an email address. And the answer to the question that is contained in the film. And you can win one of these gorgeous belt sanders. And it could be yours. And Matthew will post it out anywhere in the whole wide world. So check that out. I'm not quite sure when the closing date is. I think there's about another week to go on that. So don't forget, you've got your chance of winning one. We've had hundreds of entries on that, which is absolutely brilliant. And don't forget, give that film a thumbs up if you like it as well.
Michael wants the Q&A answered in accents. Oh my God, that's what we can do for the next 12 hours.
What?
Every time a donation comes in, you have to answer their question in an accent of their choice.
Of their choice. A donation comes in, I have to patch up my accent saying, can't I? Oh yeah. Okay.
Or a random accent of your choice.
Do you know what? I don't want to. That's really risky for me.
I'm going to be in trouble now. I've suggested
no, but that's going to be really risky because I got to watch my mouth sometimes, haven't I?
Yes,
I'm not very. Is it PC?
Yes, actually, yeah. Actually, it's a very good point, Andrew. Yeah.
I could really land myself in it, couldn't I?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much indeed, everyone who's come on today. Really do appreciate it. What do you think of the haircut? I've caught the sun, as you can see. Louise,
it was snowing this afternoon.
Was it really?
Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
You've still read.
I know.
From Sunday, and now it's snowing.
We were in the garden Sunday all day, caught the sun, had a haircut. Louise very kind did my haircut, and the next day it was hailstoning. Mad weather. Right.
Couldn't make it up.
Couldn't make it right. Whoa, hang on, Fuzzy Bear. No?
You just do the noise, you can't do the words, can you?
No, I can only go.
That's not very good.
Oh, right, I'm going to go before I make a right fool of myself.
Okay.
Louise, say goodbye.
Goodbye. See you all next week when we're open.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you next Monday, the 12th of April, 4 p.m, British summertime. Again, we'll let you know how the day's gone because it's going to be our first day open for 3.5 months. So everyone have a lovely week. Take care of yourself. And we will see you next Monday, 4 p.m, 12th of April, for the next question and answer. Come on early and get your questions in nice and early, and you have a chance of us actually... You doing this well done? Yep. Take care. We'll see you next week. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye for now.